So this video is to kind of do a quick look on make versus buy analysis. So the way that I look at make versus buy analysis is that there's sort of three steps that are involved. The first is that you clearly think through your make versus buy alternative. This requires quite a bit of sort of brainstorming around that. And then from there you do an economic analysis. And in this you're going to use engineering economy concepts. And then the last thing you kind of do is do a strategic or qualitative issues. Think through all of those things that might need to be considered. So when we consider making this or buying this, what is going to be the impact on the operations of the two differences? So this is not really trivial, and you specifically need to think in two areas. First of all, the initial cost, the time period, one time or the time zero costs. Now, of course, when you make something, you probably need to set it up. So there's going to be machines that you buy and things like that. But you also need to consider in the buy decision, what are going to be the upfront costs? Maybe you need to spend some time certifying a supplier or something. So think through what are going to be the costs associated with making and buy on an ongoing basis. On an initial basis, and then you look at it on an ongoing basis. What are going to be different every month, every year? So one of the things that then you sort of, in your mind, the way you might do this is to sort of create a brainstorming session. What are all the things we might need to do? Now, in this case, I've written stuff like we need to buy a new machine, we might need to buy molds, we need space in our factory, we need another operator, we might have maintenance costs, increased raw material costs, storage of inventory, quality inspections, supervisors, higher insurance. In the make situation, we might need to do that, but there also will be some things in the buy situation, like we need to store the inventory. Do we need another shipping or receiving operator? Do we need another person in purchasing? Is there going to be some sort of quality inspections we need to have on an ongoing basis? Are we going to need a supervisor? Things like that. And then you actually need to really think through. And the reason, not so much I want you to be able to read all of this that's on there about the way that I thought about the machines in the make buy or the purchasing cost increase, but really to illustrate that it requires a deep kind of narrative and a deep understanding of what's going on. Once you've done that, you kind of can have an idea and start putting it into the format of engineering economy. So you're going to put together engineering economy kinds of things where you're going to look at the initial costs and the ongoing costs. And I would suggest one of the most important things in this actually is to document where you get all your costs, because you're going to have to make a ton of assumptions. So make sure that you say there's going to be sources for it. Maybe there's some websites that you want to reference in the machines you buy. There's going to maybe some calculations about capacity. You want to make sure you document all of that. And ultimately, I would recommend putting it in Excel. So in this case, you can see that I have, for both cases, the make case and the buy case, I have initial costs that might occur and ongoing costs that might occur. Now that is very similar to what if you remember in engineering economy, one of the things we do is we lay it out in what we call a cash flow diagram. So we take that information from the Excel spreadsheet and put it into, in our minds at least, into two different alternatives, the make alternative and the buy alternative. So they're going to be different shapes of cash flows. Now you can look at these alternatives and calculate the net present value of each alternative. You want to look for the one that is lowest cost. Or you can do a difference. So you can take the difference between make and buy and do a cash flow diagram that is a difference, like what's going to be different between the two. And in this case, in all cases, you'll need to determine what interest rate you're going to use. And most companies kind of have a interest rate they might recommend using. It's a pretty low interest rate, usually at 5% or something. And if the make versus buy alternative, the make minus buy, so that last cash flow diagram, if the net present value of that is greater than zero, then that means it's better to make the product. So we would go through an engineering economy kind of analysis. So what we've done is we went clearly through the alternatives. We did an economic analysis. Now we're going to look at strategically. Are there other qualitative issues? Or are there other strategic issues that we need to take into account? Like I just wrote a bunch here. On the make side, is this in our area of expertise? Is this an area we would like to grow? Do we have the in-house capabilities on our workforce? Do we think we can control quality better in-house? How fast can we implement this? On the buy side, can the suppliers respond quickly to our changing needs, ECR and MCRs? Are their suppliers a stable firm? Are there multiples of suppliers available? So there's going to be all kinds of questions associated with that. And you'll just need to make sure that you can do that analysis completely. I hope that helps.